What's going on YouTube? My name is Andrew, aka the Black Dragon. This is Black Dragon Studios, and this is not a video of Call of Duty Mobile. This is me going to be talking about lithium-ion batteries and cell phone batteries in particular. I just want to start off by saying I'm not being paid to do this video right now. I just want to kind of share my experience on batteries, if I may. My experience with cell phone batteries. It's been a good one, I'll just say that. So I thought that I would be able to pass on some of that wisdom to some of the folks out there possibly struggling with cell phone batteries or wondering about making a cell phone purchase. Safety, battery safety is something I'm highly trained on as well. I don't claim to be an expert on it, but let's just say I've owned maybe 7 cell phones since 2010. It's 2021 now. I've only ever had one battery blow up on me. A lot of people don't know what the infrastructure makeup of a lithium-ion cell phone battery actually looks like. So basically what it is it's just it's basically wrapped tightly together, pressed down, but it's just a sheet. It's just a sheet, and then the quality of the sheet is dependent on how well the battery operates, how long it lasts, the mAh or the milliamp per hour of the battery, which is how long the battery is going to last for per charge. So for example, if you have a 3000 mAh battery in your cell phone, removable or non-removable, it really doesn't matter. I prefer non-removable because then the case isn't going to be opening up, getting dirt in it, da-da-da-da-da. And in my experience, if the battery is well taken care of, the non-variables are all intact. Non-variables being things like, sorry, I meant to say variables. The variables are all passable, meaning like the way that the battery was manufactured was done properly. The way that the battery is taken care of is being done properly, as like it's not being charged over its recommended limit. I don't recommend charging a battery over 3 amps. The fast charge, some of the fast charge cell phones have ratings of 6 amps or 10 amps charging, which is like the speed of how fast the battery charges while it's on the charger. But it's not even really safe to do 3. Like I would say probably in and around the area of 2.4 volts is the standard. 2.4 amps is the standard charge for a battery these days, and that's just your regular run-of-the-mill charger are all doing standard 2.4 amp charges right now. But then they've come out with these other ones. Now they're doing 3 amp fast charge, 5 amp fast charge is like standard on the market right now. I do the 3 amp fast charge and I've not noticed the batteries heat up all that much. And that's really all it boils down to is in battery life is what temperature is your battery operating at? Is it super hot? Does it get super hot when it's on the charger? If so, you're probably charging it a little too high of an amperage. You need to lower it down a little bit, okay? So that's the first thing. And this is in no particular order. I mean, you could list these qualities in any number, and they all need to be, they're all just as equally as important, in my opinion. If you're really looking to take care of your battery and you want your cell phone to last as long as possible, I would highly recommend taking these precautions and these steps and toward making that happen. So that's the first thing, is charging is what am I going to be charging my phone on. I want to buy a high quality charger. I don't want to be using a charger that's like a China charger, a no-name charger. I would prefer to use something like a flagship phone wall jack like Samsung or LG or something like that. It doesn't really matter. Like Samsung phone could be used with an LG charger just as the same as like any phone really. It doesn't matter as long as it's a high quality charger. The second thing about charging is I don't use chargers that can be plugged into the phone and taken out. I use magnetic charging plugs that can be plugged into the end of the phone. Like this. So they can be taken out and put back in, but I just leave them in. And then whenever I need to go charge the phone, I just have this hook up, link it up, boom, it's ready to go, charging just like that. It can be popped off. So that way the charging port doesn't get damaged, because if the charging port gets damaged, it's very difficult to fix that. And normally it's not replaceable by just the average person. I'm just your average person. I don't have any repair or, you know, cell phone doctor experience. I just, once my cell phone breaks, goes in the garbage, dispose of it, whatever, it's over. So anyways, moving on from that, I like to select a phone with a high capacity battery. So that would mean like I'm not going to be picking a phone with a 2500 mAh battery. I want to pick a phone with a like 4000 mAh, 5000 mAh, 6000 mAh battery. They may be a little heavier depending, it just does, you know, maybe by a little bit, but it's well worth it because the actual charge of the battery will last quite a substantial amount longer than say a 3000 mAh battery or 3500 mAh battery. The higher the mAh, the longer it's going to last typically. The next thing, and this is one of the mistakes that I've made, and this is a mistake that a lot of people probably make too, is when they get their cell phone, it's brand new, it may be bought from eBay, it may be bought from Best Buy or wherever, and it's not been upgraded. I don't recommend upgrading it to the newest operating system unless your phone can handle it sufficiently without messing up the RAM. So what their RAM is it's random access memory, and it's not the amount of memory that you can like store pictures and videos and games on your phone and stuff like that. It's actually how the processor of the phone, and I'm going to lead into my next point here too with that. The processor of the phone speed could be like 3 gigabytes of RAM, which is not bad, 4 gigabytes of RAM, which is pretty standard in today's market. The higher we go, the faster the phone's generally going to be. But if we look at core processors, so if one phone has a quad-core processor and another phone has an octa-core processor and they both have 4 gigabytes of RAM, well, the phone with the octa-core processor, which has 8 separate processors in one processor, is going to be a much faster phone than a quad-core processor, which only has 4 little computers in that amount of in that processor made up as one. There are even phones that I've seen with deca-core or deca-core, I'm not sure how it's pronounced. It's 10 processors in the same phone. So it just means that the phone runs a lot smoother, the frame rate doesn't lag as much, the picture quality is a lot clearer. Okay. Temperature, like I said, we're going back into temperature of the battery, so I'm going to want to keep my battery temperature anywhere between 25 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius is pretty standard. What that would be in Fahrenheit, I really want to keep it at around 75 Fahrenheit, but no higher than 90. Once the phone starts going above 90 Fahrenheit, that's when you'll start to notice a big drop off in the battery life. The phone will slow down, it'll become very laggy, it may even shut off on you. And same thing with the phone being too cold. Once a battery reaches a certain temperature, it starts to deteriorate quicker. especially if it's on the charger. Charging in the summertime heat in the car in a 100-degree day, you risk starting a fire. You risk your phone blowing up in your face and literally damaging your face. So, you know, that's not something I would do, but I know that there's some people that really have no other choice. They need to charge their phone, and the only place that it can be done is in their car at the beach while it sits and basically boils in the hot sun. So at that point, I would recommend just cracking the windows just a little bit. I'm not saying to, like, you know, bring them down to the point where people can break into your car, but just crack them a little bit so at least there's a little bit of airflow going in the car, and put a sun protector on the windshield so that the sun's just not beating down, and possibly tint your windows a little bit too, if you can afford it. I know it's very expensive to get window tinting these days. Good window tinting is not cheap, but it's well worth it, especially if you live in a hot climate like Florida or the Ecuador or something like that. Tinting your windows is not only going to add style to your vehicle, but it's going to keep your phone from blowing up and possibly destroying your whole car. So yeah, that just brings bad images to my mind of phones blowing up in people's faces, but it has happened. So yeah, battery life, and I will just tell you that my batteries for all the phones that I've ever had, I have this phone here, which is a 5,000 mAh battery phone, and it's a flagship phone. It's an Asus phone. I had bought that brand new 4 years ago from the store, from Best Buy, and the battery is still literally, it might be 90% compared to the 100% it was operating at when I got it. It's literally still just as good as the day I got it. It charges up fine, it holds its charge just fine. It lasts a very long time, and it doesn't overheat. Okay. There was a phone I had a problem with one time. I bought a China phone for cheap off wish.com. I got the phone, and it was bought on eBay. It was a $20 phone. It was a decent phone. It came with like a 3500 mAh battery, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 32 gigabytes of internal storage, quad-core processor. It was still pretty slow. The touchscreen was kind of off on it. It wasn't that great. That left it on the charger, and it didn't have a governor on the battery charging the thing. So either it was a faulty charger I was using that didn't govern the amount of charge that would be put into the phone, or the phone itself, the battery was not governing properly. So it took in too much charge. I fell asleep with the phone on the charger, and I woke up and the phone was puffed about this much. Instantly I ripped that phone off the charger. I turned off the phone, and I looked at it, and the battery, that's what happens with these batteries, is they're like compressed so much, the molecules in them, and when they heat up to a certain point, they just expand. And once they expand, that's like the puffin, that's like the porcupine's way of like warning you, I'm about to like shoot you with my needles, you better get the hell out of the way. Well, that's the phone's way of letting you know that the battery is fucked. It's time to it's time to dispose of that battery, and probably that phone if it's an internal non-removable battery, which that phone was. I think not. I don't know, I'm not sure. I can't remember, but I think I just ended up throwing out the phone anyway. I'm pretty sure it was non-removable. But anyways, we will not talk about that. That's another thing too, is like, I would prefer to buy a flagship phone like LG, Samsung, you know, the whole list of good phones out there on the market, rather than these like no-name companies, these China phones, quote-unquote China phones, where they're really cheap. You could get a huge processor, huge amount of RAM, memory, all this, you know, promises, and then you get the phone and it's a piece of junk. And you paid $100 for it, it's worth $500 if it came with what all it said it was going to have. But no, it's not. It's a piece of junk, and you need to throw it in the garbage within a month because it's already crapped out on you. I would rather just spend an extra $200 and get a phone that lasts 4 or 5 years. That's me personally. But yeah, so the main statistics that I look at when buying my phones is, first and foremost, RAM and internal storage. They go hand in hand. Typically, a phone with more RAM is going to have more internal storage too, so most phones with 4 gigabytes of RAM are all going to have 32 gigabytes of internal storage, which is like how much videos you can store. That's, you know, videos, games, pictures, stuff like that, programs. But as we go up in the ladder, like, I just recently made a purchase, as you probably saw in my latest phone video, the LG V50 Think, which has 6 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of internal memory. So it's a big upgrade, and I noticed that the phone runs a lot smoother. But what I don't recommend, like I said, do not upgrade from Android 9 to Android 10 as soon as you get the phone, or Android 8 to Android 9. I don't recommend doing that, because what happens then is you've just installed a whole new operating system in your phone that already had an operating system quite sufficient. There's nothing wrong with Android 8. There's nothing wrong with Android 9. There's nothing wrong with Android 10. There's nothing wrong with any of them, really. I mean, they've all been stalwarts of the cell phone industry at some point or another during their, and the phones that they've been installed in immediately, meaning like it comes with that program already installed on it, that's the one that it's meant to have. It's maxed out. So when I go ahead and install Android 10 on this LG V50 Think that came with stock Android 9, and I've never even had a phone that's been able to barely run Android 9 sufficiently, and I just jammed on Android 10 without even trying Android 9, well, already I've screwed myself, because I can't uninstall Android 10 without rooting my phone, jailbreaking the phone, in other words, and unlocking the bootloader, which most phones, honestly, in my experience, you can't even, especially LG phones are the most big pieces of garbage ever but we won't get into that. That's a different topic for another day. As far as unlocking the bootloader and being able to root your phone, so you can manually download and install a new operating system or downgrade your operating system in your phone. The average person is not going to know how to do that, and even an expert couldn't do it. There's no way known to mankind right now without literally putting your phone at such high risk of destroying your device doing this installation, that people just choose not to do it because it's not worth the risk. So my suggestion to you is just don't upgrade the operating system. Try it out for a few days. Don't be like me and be an idiot and say, oh, I gotta have Android 10. No, try out whatever phone operating system your phone comes with and look at their RAM. If like your RAM is 6 gigabytes and it's running at 3 gigabytes of RAM with Android 9 installed in it, I can guarantee you it's going to go up at least 1 gigabyte installing another operating system and upgrading your operating system. So, and that will slow your phone down majorly. It will put stress on your battery. It will put stress on your processors, and your phone is just going to not be quite as amazing as you once thought it would be when you bought the phone. Now I will say this, it's not the end of the world. If you've upgraded your operating system, it's not the end of the world. My phone still works, it runs great, it's smooth, but what I do notice a lot is that it will heat up. The battery is very good on it though. It's been manufactured great. I can tell this because when it heats up, it doesn't drain super quick. It drains at pretty much the same rate as when it's normal temperature. Mainly when I'm playing games and stuff like that on my phone. I just watch the battery and I look at the time and I kind of notice, just through watching, like how the battery is draining. And it's not really that bad, but it could be better. If we're trying to optimize battery life here, both per charge and amount of charges that a battery can have. Now this is the main thing that I found, and I don't have any way to prove this, but they say that a battery is only supposed to last about 500 charges. Well, I've had this phone here for 4 years, I've charged it every day. I never, ever, maybe like 3 or 4 times in its entire existence, have I let it get under 30% battery. I don't know if this affects it or not. I don't let it get under 30% battery, or even 40% if I can help it. And I try to keep it in between 40 to 90% battery life at all times. I never turn it off. I keep it on pretty much at all times. And I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but frequency of battery use, meaning it's being used often, almost like a well-oiled machine. It doesn't, it just keeps going and going, rather than being turned off for 8 days and then come back on for a day, or being turned on for, I don't know what I'm saying right now, but you get my point. So it's always on, it's being charged frequently, and it's never being allowed to drop to 0. And I know this to be true with certain batteries, is that they have a charge minimum that they'll hold, and when it says 0% battery on your phone, your battery is actually not at 0%. Your battery is just at, say its minimum charge hold is 2.4 volts to operate, meaning it has to be charged. Your battery will charge from a completely dead battery, nothing in it, completely dead. It's at 0 volts. Okay, that's where it starts. It'll start to work in the device at 2.4 volts. I'm just making a random number here, but that's probably what it is. Okay, so, and then it'll charge up to 100%. By the time it gets to 100%, the battery will be standard 4.2 volts. That's what it will read. So between 4.2 volts and 2.4 volts, that's where it will work. It'll start to drain 4.1, 3.5, it'll be 50%. And then when it gets to 2.4 volts, your phone shows 0% battery, but your battery is not dead. It's just below the recommended minimum charge. But there's a reason why it's recommended minimum charge, because those batteries have a certain makeup to them. It's a science. They got to be above a certain number, or else they will start to deteriorate. So I don't want to risk somebody making the battery wrong, or the phone not reading the battery properly and letting it drop before that recommended minimum voltage. I want to keep it above that at all times, okay? And most phones have a proper governor on them. They will read the battery charge properly and stop it once it's reached its max charge, so it doesn't blow up on you, and stop it from going under its recommended minimum wattage voltage, so that it doesn't deteriorate on you and prevent it from being able to hold a charge. Okay, so using it frequently, keeping it in between the recommended minimum voltage, there's no way to tell this unless you have some sort of a meter, which is like a third-party device that you would have to use to put basically a reader on your battery to check its voltage, like its current voltage rating. So instead of having to do that, just keep it between 30% and 90%, and I guarantee you, in my experience, your battery after 3-4 years, charging it every day, that's over 1,000 charges. If you charge your battery every day for 1 year, that's 365 charges. Now, mind you, I'm not charging it fully every time. I'm not charging it right from 0%. I'm charging it from 50%, or I'm charging it from 60% or 80%. So it's not really considered a full charge until it's been charged from 0% to 100%. That's considered one full charge. So, in a roundabout way, it does kind of work out to where after 4 years of charging it, say, maybe one full charge a day even, if I'm charging it, because it's being put on the charger sometimes 4 or 5, 6 times a day, then I would consider that one full charge a day, just estimating. 365 times 4, that's well over 1,200 charges. That's almost 1,400 charges. Okay. If you were doing crimes, that would be a laundry list of charges, man. I'm telling you. Your rap sheet would be huge. But, okay, that was a bad joke. Shout out to anyone who got that. But moving back to, I lost my train of thought now, okay? So charging the battery. They say that a good battery, like I said, 500 charges, so I'm getting, over 15 higher charges, and my battery is still just as good as it was on day one. You tell me that I don't know how to take care of my batteries, and I'll laugh in your face. So there are some variables that cannot be controlled by the user. One of them is how the battery is manufactured by the company. Even if it's manufactured properly, some batteries have different little variations to them. Some are just better than others. Like, some will be considered a grade A battery. Others might be considered an A+ battery. Others might be considered a grade B+ battery. But they're all made by the same company and made in the same way. There's no ill will, tampering, or anything like that. Okay? That's one of the variables that can't be controlled by the user. The governing system on the battery can't really be controlled by the user. If they tell you it has a proper governing system on the battery, it's certified, you know, it's been tested, they say it's what it is. There's no way really to tell unless you have your own equipment at home to test your batteries. I don't. I probably will have one in the future, but I don't right now. I've never had a need for one. I've always just taken care of my batteries and done what I was told to do with them. There is a myth about batteries, especially lithium-ion batteries, that they say you need to give your phone a full, like, let it go all the way dead and then charge it all the way full right when you get it. That is not true. Will it harm your battery or affect your battery positively in any way? I don't know. I really don't. But what I can tell you is that it will not affect it negatively in any way. Might it improve the quality of your battery life, the memory of how it charges up? I don't know. I really don't know. But I don't do that. I've never had an issue with my batteries. Other than that one battery that was manufactured by a terrible company who just didn't know what they were doing, and it was either the charger that didn't govern my battery properly, which I can't imagine having happened because I charge all my other phones. I charged my ASUS ZenFone on it. I charged this phone here on it. I charged my LG G6 on it. LG G6, by the way, is a terrible phone. Don't purchase it unless you have no other options. There are much better options at that price range for a phone in today's day and age than the LG G6. But anyways, the battery, even the battery on the LG G6, okay, I'll talk about that for a sec. It's really not that bad. It's a 3,500 mAh battery capacity, yeah, somewhere in and around that. It's okay. I've had the phone shut off on me a few times due to overheating while using it, just browsing the internet, literally just like looking at Google, and the phone just turns off, or you know, like, it's that bad. It's literally, the phone gets that overheated. Why? Because I installed Android 9 on it. Don't do that. Don't upgrade your operating system. I can't stress this enough. Yeah, you might look cool in front of your friends, but you're gonna be sitting there with a phone that you know could be a lot faster had you not done that. So don't fall to that temptation of clicking that update button. Don't have auto update up on your phone. Turn it off. Get it off right away. It shouldn't even be on anyways, because the phone does that. It'll warn you. It'll say if you upgrade, you will not be able to downgrade this. It should say that, but nobody ever reads the fine print. So let me see. We've covered battery life, battery capacity. That's a non-variable, is like battery capacity. If you're buying it from a flagship company, that battery will be what it says it is. So that's not a variable. It's a non-variable that can be controlled. Variables, charging speed of the battery. If you want to really optimize your battery, charge it in between 2.4 amps to 3 amps. That should do you just fine. 3 amp will charge a 4,000 to 5,000 mAh battery phone in an hour or two. When you get into the higher amp charging, like 5 and 10 amps, you really do risk deteriorating your battery at the cost of convenience. So if that's okay with you, then go ahead and do that. You know, it's not a big deal. But if you want to make your battery last a lot longer, just do what I say. So, alright, moving on from that. That is something that you can control. You can control the charger you use. The length of the cord you use will affect your battery charging time too. If you're using anything over a 1 meter cord, your battery charging time is already going to increase. Once you reach a 2 meter cord and 3 meter cord, a 5 meter cord, it takes longer to charge. I don't know why that is. It shouldn't be that way. I don't feel once the current starts going, it should just be going at a steady rate, but it doesn't work that way. So buy a 1 meter cord if you can, and your phone will charge a lot faster. It'll connect easier. Magnetic chargers, especially convenient and protecting your charging outlet too, so that stuff doesn't get in there. These things don't need to be replaced. These charging cords will last. I've had some certain cords for years, and they're still just as good as the day I got them. If you go out and buy those ones that you got to connect every time, you got to plug them in and disconnect them, those ones usually last me about a month. I don't know about you people, but I don't take care of those things very well. And they're cheap too. I can get them on eBay for $5 each. $5 each. Go buy it from a reputable buyer. You know, 2,000 rating or 4,000 rating. Get the battery charger and the charging dock. You know, there should be a good charging dock on there too. I do notice that the good charging docks on there can cost upwards of $20 to $30. But if your phone already comes with a charging dock that says LG on it or says Samsung on it, just use that. Don't use some crappy $5 charger if you care about your phone, because you do run the risk of it not. What'll happen with these chargers typically is that it may not break your phone, but the charger itself will break and it just won't work. I've had this happen to me over and over. I've tested them. Some of them are good. I have one that I do use. It has 4 ports in it. I think I got it for like $6. I've never really had a problem with it. It still works today. But that's more the issue. That's more the risk you run, is just nickel and diming yourself instead of just going out and purchasing a solid charging dock and having it last. I've never had a flagship phone charging dock break on me. Maybe one. I don't know if it was a flagship or a piece of junk though. I think it might have been a piece of junk. Just trying to think of everything that I've covered and just run over it real quick here again. Screen brightness. Let's go with screen brightness for a minute. If you're outside in the sun, don't put your phone on minimum brightness. That's stupid. You're not going to be able to see your phone. But if you're inside of a dark room, don't put your phone on max brightness when you're just reading a book or, you know, reading a text. Turn it down to what minimum brightness you can see the screen at. Don't have it on auto brightness. I find it doesn't work quite as well. But always remember before going outside on a sunny day to turn your phone brightness up to max level, because there's nothing worse than being out walking down the street, pulling out your phone, looking down at it and seeing a black screen and knowing that it's turned on, and then having to like cover it up and like, is anybody looking at me? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta really get lucky and then press the screen, like hopefully this hits the brightness, and you gotta press anyway. Yeah, so I would just rather turn on the brightness before I go outside and move on. Okay? So brightness is important. Brightness really will affect the quality of battery life, as will the amount of programs you have running in the background. I know they say not to force stop apps, that it could screw up your phone. I don't find that to be true. I've force stopped a lot of apps. Download an app called Android Assistant. It's free on the Google Play Store. It's really effective because I can just close all the apps that I'm not using on it and in the background and save my phone a lot of battery life just by doing that. Rooting your phone is another option. I don't really get into rooting because what I've found with my one-rooted phone is that certain apps won't work properly on it. It's just kind of, I don't know. Honestly, I would prefer a non-rooted phone. I know they said that rooting it is better, but my personal experience with a rooted phone is that things just don't really work quite as well. Although it is a bit faster. I don't know. I guess it's your choice to decide whether or not you want to root your phone. Just know that yeah, I don't like a rooted phone. Anyways, yeah. Try to think of anything I haven't said yet. I guess I could list them off in importance. So, battery frequency, where would I start? Company, purchase from a reputable company, that's number one. Try to purchase your phone as brand new as possible. If you're buying it used, purchase it from a reputable source that will tell you how used the phone actually is. They'll be honest with you about that. Buy with a high capacity battery, 4,000 mAh and above, I would recommend. Just fine for today's average Joe. High amount of RAM, highest amount of RAM possible without breaking your bank is going to allow your phone to run smoothly. An operating system, processor. So your processor should be at least an octa-core processor, which is 8-core processor. So your battery's not going to drain as fast because your phone's not going to be working as hard to provide you with all the screens and stuff like that. Don't leave your screen on either. I know this sounds like, it might sound like a simple thing, but I know that I like to leave my screen on and just leave it on, and it'll, especially when the brightness is high on it and the phone gets heated up, what'll happen is screen burn and the battery will drain quicker, and screen burn can't really be fixed. I've tried fixing it. Once your screen is burned, the pixels are now pigmented into your screen, and the picture just doesn't look as good. So turn your screen off when you're not using your phone, or turn your brightness down to as minimum of a level as possible. Charge your phone frequently. Use your phone frequently. Keep it between 30% charge to 90% charge if you want to guarantee that you don't have to get into the whole governor system where you have to rely on your phone governor, your battery governor, your charging governor to stop the charging process at the right amount. Okay, it's very important. That's not a myth, it really is true, and your battery will last so much longer if you do it that way. Temperature. Another thing about Android Assistant is it'll tell you exactly what temperature your battery is at all times too. I know you could feel it just by feeling your phone when it heats up in your hands, but you can actually get a solid number of what that feel actually is when you look at Android Assistant. If it's over 40, it's time to probably give your phone a rest. If you're outside in a hot day and your phone's over 40, I might even recommend turning it off. I know that sounds crazy, but at that point, that's where you start to run the risk of your battery actually blowing up on you. So It's not likely to happen, but it could happen. You have a much higher chance of it happening at that point. Other than that, I don't really have a whole lot to say. That's pretty much, I tried giving you as much experience as much wisdom and experience as I possibly could with what I've done with my batteries over the years. I've been very successful with my battery preservation over the years. Haven't had too many issues. I've owned Androids for over 10 years now. I've always been on Android. I've always liked the Android system better than the iPhone system. I guess that's it. I'm gonna give you guys 5 seconds to like and subscribe to the video. My name is Andrew. This has been a battery, how to preserve your battery life in your Android devices, and probably your iPhone devices too. I mean, they all use lithium-ion batteries. And I'm gone.
You said we can't buy no waps. I beg to differ. How many racks did I make this winter? Still got hard for Craig and Linda. I still ain't run out of luck. I'm with AB and we're serving drugs.